Hello grade 10. We're going to do this activity now, 3.1. The user is going to enter an ID number, and remember an ID number must always be a string. We're going to use a calculation to determine whether the person is male or female, and that is based on the 7th character of the ID number. So there's the program. If you want to open your program, you go File, Open, and then you open the .dpr or the .d, but you won't have a .dproj in the data files on Teams. You'll have a .dpr and underscore p and underscore u. You open underscore p, and in this button click event test gender, we're going to declare a variable, and then we're going to ask the user to enter via an input box. Now remember the input box function. Why is it a function? It's on the right hand side of our equal sign there. It has 3 parameters, they're all strings. The first parameter is a question, and then the second parameter you don't have to put anything. The third parameter you don't have to put anything either. Can you see the 3 parameters of an input box? You need to know that. Right, now we're going to go find out what are the criteria. The 7th character, if it's 0, 1, 2, 3 or 4. So I'm going to use the case SRD, character number 7 of 0.4. Then we will show a message. We're using a show message. Yes, we're going to show a message. Show message female. And if it's other numbers, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, so from 5 to 9 we can do that because numbers follow on one from the other. We'll show a message male. But we're going to have an else in our case, because what if any other character was entered, like letters of the alphabet or strange characters? Then we'll show a message only enter numbers, something to that effect. So there it is. Okay, and I think you can do that quite easily, eh? Right, next one. We're going to, by the way, you should always close Delphi and then open Delphi again when you want to open a new program. I hope this doesn't take too long to open Delphi again, but I'm going to do it while I'm here in the lesson. The other program we're going to do is 5.1. So you just got to wait patiently to let Delphi open. Take note, I close Delphi completely and then I open another program. It's very important. So now I'm going to File, Open, and I'm going to go to 5.1. underscore p, open. Now 5.1 is all about using checkboxes here. So we're going to ask the user to enter the cost per message for SMS, and then the number of messages, and a checkbox we're going to have if they used a contract or not. So if they click that, then they get the first 20 messages free. We want to know the cost of all the messages for a month, so this is basically a whole lot of messages for 1 month, and the first 20 messages are free if the contract checkbox is checked. So let's look at what we've got first. We've got an edit box and we have a spin edit. So the cost of a message cost per SMS in cents. Everything's going to happen in the calculate button, so I'm going to double click there. I'm going to make local variables here, there's no global variables involved here. So our cost will be our real number, and I quantity, or I SMS, can be our integer. We get our input from the input box components. Question is though, you see this edit box here called EDT cost per SMS. What if that was not a real number? Well, we're going to sort that one out just now, but let's just get our SMS, and the number of SMSs is in this benedded SED num SMS, SED num SMS dot value, and our contract will be whether that CBX is checked or not. Now remember, a checkbox has a Boolean variable, be checked, Boolean. So let's go and see if be checked is true. We're going to go and get the value of be checked will be equal to this checkbox CBX contract, CBX contract dot checked. That dot checked property will be either true or false, and we're going to store it in a Boolean called B. Well, let's call it B contract. B contract rather. Yeah. B contract. Now, I'm worried about this EDT cost per SMS. I want to make sure that is definitely a real number, so I'm going to use my val procedure. Why is val a procedure? Because we just write it. We write it, there's no brackets or anything involved, we just write the procedure name. And in brackets, the val procedure has 3 parameters. Look at those tooltips coming up there, so you're fine. The thing with this val procedure, you're going to be taking a string, and the string we want to check, we're going to test the string. The val procedure tests that string, I'm putting that string in there. The second parameter is either a real number or an integer, so I'm going to make rnum, because I'm trying to convert this string to a real number, so the process is going to try and do that. So rnum will be, used to do that. And if it is true that you can convert it to a real number, then I-code will be naught. So that last parameter is our one that we're going to use in code right now. And we're going to do the following. We're going to say if our code, if it's not equal to naught, we want to exit this program. So we'll have a begin and end here to exit. We'll show a message, tell them, please enter a real number. You could also use this method to test if it's an integer, then you would just replace rnum, this rnum here, with inum. Okay, so there we go. B contract equals CBX, we got all the other things. Now this exit means that this bitmap button, BBM click, this button procedure will close, but the program won't stop. So it won't end, so we can it'll be fine. We can continue, the person can go and retype the number into EDT cost per SMS, and that exit means the procedure will close, so anything underneath there, it's not going to happen. But if our code is equal to naught, then all of this will happen. Right, what are we going to do if this has happened? Well, if B contract, if it's equal to true, then we're going to say our SMS, we're going to take 20 off the number of messages, minus 20, and that's it. Because if B contract is false, then this won't happen. We won't take 20 off, so it'll be fine. And then all we're going to be left to do is display, and in our LBL total cost. Take note, I looked on the structure list over here. I'm looking in the structure list and there's an LBL total cost there. I'm going to display my total cost there in the button calculate event. So I'll say LBL. Well, if you want, we can make a an R total here just so that you can see. We're going to use R total. We don't have to. We can do the calculation while we display it. R total is R cost times by I SMS. And then LBL total cost dot caption will be equal to float to string F. And the reason why we're using F, because we want to format it to currency. So you'll put R total, comma FF currency, comma 8, comma 2. And there's the program done. So you must know all of these things for your test. So I'm going to move on to the next program now. Take note, I'm closing Delphi. And opening it again. Alright, now we can go and open. Take note that this welcome screen comes up. I normally just close it, just because you don't have to close it. Go File, Open, and then we go find the other folder with 9.1 dot underscore p dot dpr. If there's no underscore p, just look for dot dpr. So here's our program. Let's go and look at the instructions. Not loop, we're going to do loops next. So this is activity 8. I'm using a radio group box. There we go. So we're going to count the number of big 5 animals spotted in the game reserve. When the user clicks on the radio group, the program must ask the user to enter the number of animals spotted. Programs, okay, fine, while displaying the name of the relevant animal. Total number of the animal must be updated each time. Program is, the interface is quite easy to understand. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to write code in the on-click event of this radio group box. Now you'll notice when you run the program you can only click on one radio button at a time because they're all grouped together. So there's our radio, but just click on one. You see only one can be chosen. You can't have more than one. And when we click on it, we're going to actually write the code for that on-click event. So we go to the events, we click on the radio group box, go to events, go to on-click, double-click in that area, and this is where we're going to put all our code. And we're going to look at the item index of our radio group box. Now if you go to the properties of the radio group box, you'll see properties. Click on the radio group box, go to properties on the left, and you'll see item index. There's an item index, and there's also items. In the items, you click the 3 arrows next to items, you'll see those are the 5 items. The first one is numbered 0, item index of 0. The second one is item index 1. Third one is item index 2. Fourth one is item index 3. And the fifth one is item index of 4. And that's how it's numbered. And we're going to use that item index in a case structure. So we're going to say case, the name of the radio group box, which is RG big 5, case RG big 5 dot item index of. If it's 0, we're going to do something. If it's 1, we're going to do something. If it's 2, we're going to do something. 3, we're going to do something. And if it's 4, we're going to do something. Now, we have to memorize the fact that, 0 is buffalo, and so on. We're going to count, well, we're going to increment a counter for each of those animals, but we need the counters. So I, buffalo, what's the other one? I, elephant, I, LA, I, rhino. We're making variables for counting. I, lion, and the last one is I, leopard, I, Leo. And these are all integers. Okay. So we will increment the buffalo if the item index is 0, not so? But the other thing that we have to do besides incrementing, they want us to display it on these panels. PNL buffalo, PNL elephant, PNL rhino, PNL lion, PNL leopard. They want us to display the totals there. So I've got to do two things. Besides incrementing, I also have to display. So this is an awkward bit where we have to have begin and end in each of our options here. So this is, messy, but keep your indentation right here. For each option, we're going to do a begin and end. Okay, so we'll increment our elephant for this one, and we'll increment our rhino for this one. We'll increment the lion for, and we'll increment the leopard for that one. But we also want to display it, so we have to say PNL buffalo dot caption equals int to string I buff, the counter for that buffalo. Don't forget, we always must use int to string because things that go on a panel or anything on the form has to be strings. Oh, dot caption, the caption property of the panel, int to string ILA. ILA. Short for elephant. I'll just do that because typing takes longer. If you have long words to type, I don't want to take too long. Int to string rhino. For the lion, we're going to say PNL lion dot caption equals int to string lion, and then for the Leo, leopard dot caption equals int to string Leo. There it is, and that's that done. And it follows, everything has to be done is there. Number of animals, after the number has been entered, the radio group must be cleared. So we're going to have a reset button there. This is entering a number. Basically, they're using an input box. I'm using a counter. So when I click the when I click the button, this is what's going to happen. Okay, I'm going to go check our errors there. Earlier. So I've done it slightly differently. I'm basically just saying, okay, oops, can you see those numbers, guys? Can you see those numbers? It's bad. You know why? Because all of these variables here are local. So I have to make them global. So let's go and put them in the global section over here. Okay, I don't type VAR again. Because they're local, the variables are set to any random number, so can't use them. I mean, you have to initialize them to 0, but I want them to start from 0. So if you make it global variables, then you know the integer variables will be 0 to start off with. So now let's see. Click on buffalo, there we go. Can you see now? Oh, I saw another elephant. There, I saw a rhino. Another one. Saw another rhino. Okay, that is the way I've written that program, but what if I did it a different way? Using, like they said, an input box, how many elephants, and so on. Well, then we're going to have to put a different code here. We have to basically say iBuff equals well, we're going to have a quantity. We'll have an integer here, var inum, and we'll say inum equals string to int input box how many elephants, and then we'll increment iBuff with the value inum. See what I did there? Increment iBuff. You can have two parameters with increment. Another way to write that would be to say iBuff equals the previous iBuff plus inum. Sorry about that. It's an equal sign. So there we're incrementing the number as well. But we have to do the same. We have to basically have this code here, the input box statement. Oops. I left out a, can you see I left out a quotation mark there? So how many, this one will be, oh no, this is how many buffalo, isn't it? Buffalo. And then that is how many elephants. This is how many rhino. And then 3 is how many lions. And this will be how many leopards. Copying and pasting does help. Leopard, how do you spell leopards? For some reason I've forgotten how to spell leopards, guys. Leopard, A-R-D. Right, so then we got to go and say iBuff is IL is IL plus inum, or we can make it easier on ourselves and say increment rhino with inum. Over here, increment line with inum, and in this one increment leo with inum. So it's going to run slightly differently, as you can see. Oops, let's see where our errors are. Oh, do you know what I did there, guys? I'm so glad I made the mistake. Forgot my other parameters. There's 3 strings. So now if I made the mistake, then I'm sure you won't make it, because you'll remember that the teacher made the mistake. See? I forgot my 2 other parameters. Silly. You won't forget that now, hey? Okay, let's go and run the program. String to int input box. I left out a bracket. Yeah, because I've got string to int open brackets and then input box open brackets. And I'm so glad I made that mistake also, because now you're going to be reminded of that forever and ever. Okay, so now we're going to run the program. Could not find, oh no, don't do this to me now. Save, well, what is, okay, it's just my antivirus is saying detected threats. Anyway, so that's the code. Next thing we're going to do is reset. What about resetting? We should actually have a reset button here. Are we going to reset in the on-click event of this radio group box? Or are we, let's see if it'll work now. I think it's going to work. Oops, okay. if we're going to reset in the radio group box on click event, let's see if we can do that. And how do we do that? We basically say, after we've done all of this, we will set the RG big 5, the item index, we're going to set it to -1. And this is over here. Now this is where you have to be careful, because here is an n sitting over here floating around. Where does it belong? It belongs with case. Pity they can't color code it, eh? Okay, so there was a threat. So there was case and end. So this is the end of case. And this end over here is the end of the procedure. What's the name of the procedure? It's RG big 5 on click event. And this is your end of your program, the full stop. Never forget that end of the full stop must always be there. So after I'm using case, I'm setting my item index to -1, which means that this will be cleared. Now let's see if my program will run now. Okay, so we do have an issue. What you're going to do is you're going to take this program and you're going to go and do it yourself and see if it works. Okay, and I'm sure it will. So I'll see you another time.